No one anticipated the courtroom to reopen that morning. It was to be a routine document review, a process hour to check depositions and seal evidence logs. But the bailiff's voice was different, tight, measured, as if he already knew something everyone else in the room didn't. Christine sat down first, binder clutched in her hand as always, not as a complainant, not even as a witness, but as a woman in the know and tired of being polite about it. Opposite her, Kody shifted around, one fist gripping a pen, the other drumming on top of a manila folder as if he were playing a game he couldn't stop anymore. Robyn came in last, sunglasses on indoors, again. She didn't even look at Christine. Meri and Janelle stayed close to the rear, but they were here, for support, or as silent judges, no one knew. The judge cleared his throat and dropped the first line that unraveled everything. "We've received a sealed submission this morning. Audio files and transcripts, time-stamped and anonymous. The material seems to concern purported private apologies by Mr. Brown during settlement discussions." Kody didn't budge, but Robyn's shoulders stiffened like someone had just kicked her from the inside out. Christine leaned in slightly, the way someone does when they've been waiting for this very minute and don't even need to smile. The judge hit play. The voice crackled to life, not with a forensic confession or trial-hallowed utterance, but Kody's, laid back, practiced, nauseatingly smooth. "I'll apologize, of course I will, doesn't mean I'll mean it. They just want a headline. Fine, let them bawl, I'll bawl too, on camera." The room didn't blow, it imploded, as if air had been vacuumed out, fact devouring the ceiling. Robyn breathed something thin and frantic. Christine didn't blink. Janelle's gaze locked on Meri's. And the judge? He just slowed the sound down and stated, "We'll be previewing all 19 files before we decide admissibility." "Mr. Brown, do you want to say anything?" Kody gazed up, and for the first time the facade slipped. Christine leaned in, almost whispering, "Let's go ahead and play track 2. The second track began with laughter, not a voice, not the kind that fills a room, but the kind caught between texts, between takes when someone thinks no one's listening. It was Kody again, this time speaking to someone off camera, maybe a friend, maybe a producer. "You think Christine really wants me to change?" "Nah, she wants to hear I'm sorry, wants it in an email, wants it in writing, so give it to her. That's what these women are looking for, evidence, not revolution." The judge interrupted the file, scanned over the rim of her glasses, and requested the transcript be placed into the record. Christine did not flinch. She had already printed and color-coded the papers. One was captioned emotional currency, another manipulation phrases. She had underlined threads in the voice messages. The same wording sent to Janelle, to Meri, even to Robyn on the days they fought. Kody's apologies were not just insincere, they were reused. Christine set them side by side. The same phrase, same punctuation, same crocodile tears, sent to other wives years later. "I just want to be better," he'd told Janelle in 2017. "I just want to be better," he'd told Christine in 2020. "I just want to be better," he'd said to Robyn when she caught him lying. Better at what? Better at seeming sorry? The courtroom wasn't outraged, it was embarrassed. Meri hung her head down. Janelle folded her arms. Robyn tapped furiously on her phone but said nothing. The judge asked Christine if she believed the apologies were ever sincere. Christine's response was quiet, but cold. Sincerity doesn't show up in a text you've already sent 3 times before. It shows up in changed behavior, and all he ever changed was who he said it to. Kody tried to interject, but the judge held up her hand. "We're not here to debate emotion," she said. "We're here to determine intent. And right now, Mr. Brown, your intent appears highly curated." Then she pressed play on track 3. And Kody's voice filled the room again, only this time, it wasn't remorseful. It was mocking. Track 3 opened with the shuffle of papers, the faint hum of a fridge in the background, and then Kody's voice, mid-sentence. "So I'll just say it right? Christine, I failed you. I wasn't the husband you needed. Blah, blah, blah." That line always works. Gets them emotional. "And if I drop in something about the kids, it lands harder. Say it with a sigh, maybe a tear if I can pull it off. That's what they want. The courtroom didn't breathe. This wasn't just manipulation, it was rehearsal. It wasn't an apology, it was acting. Christine's fingertips grazed the table before her, not in reluctance, but in anchoring. Meri had closed her eyes. Janelle's face changed, her jaw clenched, her fists curled under the edge of the table. Even the judge ceased to take notes. Robyn, who had been vehemently whispering with her attorney, looked up at last, but her face didn't bear confusion. It bore fear. Because if these recordings were genuine, and they were, then Kody hadn't merely deceived his wives, he had rehearsed how to manipulate them, how to play the victim, in the hopes of maintaining control. Christine slowly got up and passed another envelope to the court clerk. This is what I received 3 days prior to him sending that very same apology. The judge read it aloud. Hey, need to film a follow-up. Will likely say something impassioned. Just roll with it. You'll have your story. And below, a winking emoji. Kody's attorney objected. This isn't admissible. This is personal messaging out of context. The judge didn't even look at him, however. She was still reading. You want me to be the villain? Fine, don't forget, you chose me once. Don't play dumb now. Christine leaned into the mic. He knew the court would ask about reconciliation. He wanted proof he'd tried, so he faked it. On camera, in writing, in front of our children. The judge clicked her pen once, slowly. We'll play track 4, she said, but her tone had changed. It wasn't neutral anymore, it was observant, calculating. And as the next file loaded, even Robyn looked away. The courtroom was colder now, not bodily, but tone, atmosphere, in the manner of the eyes no longer darting about in confusion, but narrowing with intent. This was not now about establishing intent. This was about revealing a pattern. The 4th recording started not with Kody's voice, but a muffled click of a door, the familiar beep of a phone initiating a video file, and then his face seen on the screen. The court clerk rotated the monitor so the judge could read it clearly. Christine didn't glance at the screen. She didn't have to. She recalled every second. Kody sat by himself in what seemed to be the Flagstaff rental, set amidst ideal lighting and posed sincerity. I want to apologize, he stated, to Christine, to Meri, to Janelle. I know I let you down. I lost myself in being patriarch and forgot to be partner. He stopped, rubbed his eyes as though he had rehearsed. I was wrong. On tape, it had looked strong, it had looked authentic. But the clip had not been entered for its emotional impact. It had been entered because of what followed. A second clip, unedited, raw, showed what was spoken only seconds after the apology had been taped. Cut someone off stage, whispered, and Kody settled right back into place. Was that too much? He chuckled. I can do another take if I have to. Let's try one where I break a little. The courtroom came to a standstill. There was no response. Only shock. The kind that occurs when the truth comes not with a whisper but with a sledgehammer. Robyn didn't reply. Meri blinked rapidly like she'd just been slapped with a memory she'd tried to suppress. Janelle's hands didn't tremble, but her breathing did. The judge glanced up and inquired flatly, Mr. Brown, were these apology videos scripted? Kody attempted to speak. He began twice, cleared his throat, and said finally, I was told to comment on things on camera. I just wanted to make sure it hit the right notes. Christine muttered to herself, but loudly enough. It hit something, just not honesty. The judge gazed down, but her tone hardened. We will now determine if the defendant's conciliatory gestures were part of a joint legal strategy instead of sincere acts of atonement. And in an instant, the apologies were evidence. Evidence not of healing, but of premeditated control. And what followed next would make that hold unmistakable. The courtroom was heavy with silence, the silence that occurs only after the truth cuts so deep that even fury forgets how to draw breath. And that's when Christine rose. She did not seem nervous. She did not stutter or stumble. She gripped the same black binder, yes, that notorious binder, that had been a silent participant in this courtroom drama. But today, it was not just a prop. Today, it was a weapon. "Your Honor," she said, voice steady but charged with years of buried betrayal, "I'd like to submit something into evidence. Not hearsay, not recordings. Cold, hard facts." She opened the binder with a soft thump, and the first tab read, "Staged reconciliations in the profit timeline." The prosecution leaned forward. The judge nodded slowly. Kody's attorney shifted uncomfortably. What came next was not a splashy confession. This was worse. Christine had itemized, month by month, each of Kody's emotional apologies, the ones he'd made on television at Walt's secret family gatherings during therapy sessions. She correlated them with the show's shooting schedule, advertising revenue spikes, and Kody's own social media activity, and it was all too neat, too convenient, too tidy. Each time he delivered a tearful apology, Christine explained, turning over another page with detached efficiency, we were 2 weeks away from a new episode drop or some incendiary teaser trailer. See this one, his regret went viral and doubled TLC's weekly engagement. Then there was the toughest page of all, merchandise launch dates. Robyn gasped. Yes, even the apologies were exclusive online. Offers, limited edition family clothing and candles of forgiveness, introduced the same week Kody sobbed on TV. "You're saying," the judge shot back, hardly concealing her own incredulity, "that your husband used apologies as a money-making scheme?" Christine's response was not passionate, it was dissective. "I'm saying he used us as a money-making scheme, and the apologies were just the commercials." Boom! The gallery exploded. A woman in the rear gasped so loudly she had to put her hand over her mouth. A man murmured, "This is fraud," and Robyn's face drained to ghost white. Kody said nothing. His jaw tightened, his teeth ground, his apology armor disintegrated, and what lay beneath wasn't remorse. It was fury. Raw, naked, legal-grade fury. And Christine, she didn't blink. Because her binder, whereas Kody's words were a performance, wasn't one. It was eye-opening. And what about the next tab? Undisclosed LLC transfers. As Christine turned to the next page in her binder, the atmosphere in the courtroom shifted. What was a public reckoning had turned into a forensic nightmare. The writing on the divider simply said, "Robyn's Empire." The crowd adjusted, murmurs sending shockwaves through the room. Even Kody, who had thus far been defiant, started looking at Robyn, his gaze seeking reassurance and finding only fear. Christine pushed her glasses up onto her nose and produced a sheaf of papers, every one of them emblazoned with the official seal of the Arizona Secretary of State. "These," she stated brusquely, "are accounts of 6 LLCs belonging to Robyn Sullivan Brown. They were drawn up over 19 months, just after the network's most-watched season of Sister Wives, and just before Kody's most emotional public utterances." She handed copies to the court clerk, who distributed them to the bench. The judge's brow creased as she scanned the underlined passages. "One of these LLCs," Christine went on, "holds a high-end property in Flagstaff. Another has a line of jewelry that never sold, but was somehow reported to have produced $385,000 in family contributions at tax time." Gasps rang out a second time. Cameras snapped. Even Meri leaned forward, shocked. "How did this occur without our awareness?" the judge demanded, voice strained. "It didn't," Christine answered icily. "We signed papers we believed were for the family trust. It turned out they were transfer of ownership. Robyn had a separate file cabinet. I discovered it after she left a key inside one of Solomon's toy boxes. That's how I discovered this." She extracted a photocopy of an invoice. $63,000 spent in a single week on high-end furniture, cosmetic surgery, and social media promotional services, all charged to the LLC linked to Kody's apology tour. The courtroom was agog. Nobody could talk. Robyn's expression twisted, not in grief, but desperation. This wasn't supposed to be discovered. She eventually wailed, rising to her feet, her voice breaking. Kody spun to face her, angry. "You claimed everything was in my name. You claimed I'd be safe." That moment of weakness had cost him too much. The judge's eyebrow rose. "So you were aware of this scam?" Before Kody could respond, Christine softly stated, "The apology videos weren't even staged. They were monetized." "And the cash?" "It didn't get spent on healing this family. It got spent on constructing Robyn's kingdom." The crowd was silent as a tomb until the prosecution leaned into their mic and asked that one last question. "Do you have bank statements?" Christine said nothing. She opened the next tab. It was headed Withdrawals from Coyote Pass Development Fund. The quiet after Christine's revelation was not silence. It was tension coiled so hard it would snap. The judge nodded slightly, and Christine clicked the tab titled Withdrawals from Coyote Pass Development Fund. What was underneath would transform the courtroom from a passive onlooker into shell-shocked witnesses of deliberate deceit. "These," Christine started, her tone more crisp now, "are monthly statements from the joint development account Kody set up for Coyote Pass. We were all assured that every dollar that our TLC checks, book sales, and appearances generated would be used to build homes for the family." She pushed the papers across the table. Instead, the account was depleted. Bit by bit, like clockwork. The prosecution leaned forward. "Can you put a number on that, Ms. Brown?" Christine nodded. Within 18 months, more than $1.2 million was taken out. But this is the best part. Not a single permit was submitted to the city. No construction contracts, no land surveys. But there were several wire transfers, she turned to a page, to a private account in Robyn's LLCs. The court collectively gasped. The date stamps directly corresponded with Kody's social media apology campaign. His calls for rebuilding trust and keeping the family together were posted within 72 hours of every withdrawal. It wasn't emotional manipulation. No, it was a marketing funnel. "Your Honor," Christine added now, her voice choked with sorrow, "he made videos to appear as if a man pleading for forgiveness. But in actuality, he was being compensated. And the money went directly into concealing land holdings under shell companies. Not family, not recovering, just covering." Robyn's lawyer stood, protesting the emotional language, but the judge dismissed it with a wave of his hand. Overruled. "These are incriminating statements." Then, near the back of the courtroom, Janelle stood. "There's one more thing," she said, holding her own manila folder. "Kody used Gabe's college fund as collateral for one of the wire transfers." The room went cold. Kody went white. Robyn collapsed into her chair, fingers pressed to her lips. Christine stared across at Janelle, the two women now standing together not only in their grief, but in their plans. "And look here," Janelle said, opening her folder, "you'll realize it wasn't the future of just one child used. It was all of them." The prosecution advanced cautiously. "Your Honor, we would like to present into evidence what we now believe is a pervasive financial conspiracy that constitutes wire fraud, identity misrepresentation, and custodial fund misuse." Kody's lawyer stuttered with his notes. Robyn's face crumpled into tears. Christine's hands shook, but her voice was steel. "He didn't just betray us emotionally. He betrayed our children. He betrayed their futures. For a falsehood wrapped in a lens of a camera. And thus, Coyote Pass wasn't merely a dream postponed. It was proof in an investigation of fraud." Just as the courtroom was attempting to shake off the earth-shattering blow of Christine and Janelle's simultaneous evidence, Janelle emerged once again, this time with a small thing in her hand that appeared to bear the burden of the whole Brown family dynasty, a black USB flash drive. She addressed the judge, speaking firmly. "Your Honor, this flash drive holds encrypted letters between Robyn and Kody about offshore holding accounts, tax shelters, and scripted apology videos for the sole purpose of distracting from these very transactions. I received it anonymously, only after I was informed it came from one of Robyn's former assistants." The courtroom tensed up. Even Kody's attorney appeared shaken. The judge waved to the bailiff, who took the drive and plugged it into the courtroom computer that was displayed on screen. The first document, July 2023, Robyn's script for Kody's TLC apology. A Word file opened. Line by line, it laid out lighting cues, tone, and even emotion beats, where Kody was to cry, stop speaking, and nod. The courtroom gasped. This was not remorse, it was acting. A constructed account given to fans, relatives, and courts all the same. The second file that followed was Coyote Pass revenue routing.xlsx. The spreadsheet reflected a shell LLC named Desert Winds Holdings, which was sourced back to Robyn's cousin in Utah. It had 8 individual transfers totaling $830,000, each labeled family reinvestment in Kody's ledger, but as consulting fees in the recipient bank account. The defense attempted to stop the presentation, but once again, the judge overruled. The courtroom was now not only observing a scandal, they were observing a strategy unfolding in real time. Christine spoke in a low tone to her attorney. The prosecution stood up once again. "We go to put all the accounts of Desert Winds Holdings into freeze right now." And then, most incriminating video uploaded from the on flash drive, a private message recorded by Kody to Robyn, entitled simply, Plan B. In it, Kody explained, if Christine or Janelle goes off the rail, we pin it on Meri. If Meri speaks out, we tell them she was never really included. We make it sound like it was her paranoia. But no matter what, keep the money flowing through Desert Winds. The courtroom was stunned. It was no longer just questionable conduct. It was deliberate fraud with fallback scapegoats waiting in line. Janelle looked away, unable to bear it. Christine sobbed quietly. And Meri, silent all this time, finally breathed. He set out to ruin all of us. The judge's face leaned in. We are revoking all existing divorce settlements and property divisions. This court is entering emergency audit procedures effective immediately. Kody slumped in his chair. His mask had cracked. His empire, built upon charm, lies, and camera-friendly remorse, was crumbling beneath the weight of receipts, real estate, and naked betrayal. The flash drive wasn't filled with just files. It was filled with his unmaking. If Kody's fall was the thunder, then Robyn's disintegration was the lightning, flashy, desperate, and blindingly intense. As the court grappled with the flash drive evidence, everyone's attention shifted to Robyn, who had until now been the weeping, devoted wife, tissues clutched in her hand and head bowed in practiced despair. But now even the judge looked weary of the act. Mrs. Brown, he said firmly, do you want to tell me about this Desert Winds transfer trail and your involvement with these orchestrated apologies? Robyn paused for the first time. The formerly sympathetic matriarch, now in the corner, glanced at Kody, but Kody glared at the table, providing no rope to cling to. I was just doing what Kody said, she stuttered. He said it was all about keeping the family afloat during the lawsuits. Her voice trembled. But this time, no one hastened to give her comfort. Then came the killer blow, not from Christine or Janelle, but from the federal government. The court clerk entered with a sealed envelope stamped Internal Revenue Service. A subpoena had been served. The judge tore it open and started reading aloud. The IRS discovered unusual activity linked to several business accounts linked with Kody and Robyn Brown from 2022 to 2024, including misstated LLC reports, bogus charitable gifts, and inappropriately using business write-offs for personal expenses. The courtroom descended into stunned quiet. The scam wasn't only emotional, it was financial, federal, and criminal. Slow-motion unwinding of years of deception. Robyn slumped into her chair. They'll steal the house, she said to herself, unaware her mic was still active. I told him we'd go to prison if he continued using Aurora's name on the returns. The courtroom gasped once more. Janelle's attorney sprang to her feet. Your Honor, we demand immediate revocation of any further joint assets Kody holds with Robyn. Also, we ask for complete access to their books of accounts for the last 3 years in court audit. Kody, face reddened and visibly shaking, finally got up. None of this was ever supposed to happen, he bellowed. This was all to help our image. The show! The fans wouldn't have gotten it, the judge scowled. This court doesn't trade in image. We trade in facts, law, and integrity. And you, Mr. Brown, have presented this court with nothing but manipulation and media theater. He addressed Robyn. And you, ma'am, co-signed all documents, attended every meeting, and used your children's names to hide funds. Don't think you're walking away untouched. In this moment, it was clear Robyn's tears were no longer a shield. They were evidence. The courtroom wasn't buying the sympathy anymore. Kody slumped, gripping the defense table. The audience, including several TLC executives, looked horrified. Cameras were rolling, but this time, the footage wasn't for a feel-good episode or a reunion. This was evidence for a lawsuit that could redefine reality TV's boundaries and possibly shut the show down. And just when the courtroom thought it had heard it all, Christine stood again. Your Honor, she announced, we haven't even reached the emails yet. The air went tense as Christine slowly approached the evidence table, grasping a bulging manila envelope. Her expression wasn't one of triumph. It was sorrow, fatigue, and quiet fury. The kind that only builds when betrayal isn't just personal but public. She gently slid the envelope to the court clerk, who took it to the judge. These, Christine said, voice unwavering, are the emails Kody and Robyn never thought I'd find. They were deleted from the shared family computer until Gwendolyn ran a forensic scan. Within are timestamps, metadata, and direct exchanges between Kody, Robyn, and a private lawyer instructing on how to use phony apology videos as emotional barriers. Gasps were heard. The judge opened the folder, lips pursed into a hard line. February 3rd emails, he grumbled, turning pages. Subject: Strategic Emotional Narrative for Audience Trust. Attachment: Apology Script Drafts. The judge snapped his head up. Is this a joke? Kody's attorney appeared as white as the pages reading. Your Honor, we had no idea they existed, he said. They were deleted before discovery. Christine re-entered. Yes. And that erasure? That's in violation of your discovery order, which, as I understand it, is obstrusory. The courtroom wasn't merely shocked. It was turned inside out. The whole charade, Robyn's shuddering apologies, Kody's empty eyes, the hundreds of orchestrated family moments, were exposed. Every post explained how to lean into the fanfiction narrative, to push the Kody's doing his best trope, and to time regretful monologues precisely before high-stakes lawsuits or bombshells aired. This wasn't a family attempting to heal, Christine stated. This was a PR machine, a scam, and it was financed by the cash intended for our children. The judge let out a deep breath. This is huge. He swung back to the bailiff. Put these papers under official seal and alert the prosecution team. I'm sending this case to federal fraud investigators. With that, Kody lost it. Christine, how dare you? I made you famous. You were nobody before this show. Christine did not blink. And you were nobody without us. But now everyone knows what you really are. Robyn was sobbing, but the courtroom no longer looked at her with pity, undefined. Even Meri, who had remained quiet most of the day, leaned toward her attorney and whispered something that looked like the word perjury. Suddenly, even Robyn's lawyer requested a recess. Her defense had crumbled. Each apology, each tear, each word of redemption spoken by Kody had been a falsehood, and now the proof was resting in the judge's hands. Undefined TLC's lawyers, who sat quietly in the back, started whispering wildly. Undefined. Their largest reality television star just stepped into court and turned over his entire public persona as proof of manipulation. Undefined. But Christine wasn't finished yet. Undefined. There's one more file, she stated. It's regarding the trust funds for the kids. It illustrates how Kody utilized their names to hide income. Undefined, and how Robyn assisted him in doing so. As Christine sat back down, A heaviness hung over the room that no one was brave enough to break. The fingers of the court reporter moved continuously, recording each word that would, in short time, be dissected, broadcast, and picked apart by the world. The judge, clearly ruffled, signaled for the clerk to produce the last document Christine had referred to, a file marked Future Funds Allocation Confidential. With deliberation and a slow voice, he read aloud. Memo dated June 5th. Subject: minimizing payout liability via child-linked holdings. The courtroom was in silence. Even the press gallery of journalists held its collective breath. This memo, the judge went on, outlines a plan by Mr. Brown and Mrs. Brown, Robyn, to vest future earnings from television appearances, sponsorship agreements, and streaming deals in low-income owned trusts. The purported goal: defer family payouts until emotional climate stabilizes. That statement slayed. What emotional climate did they expect to stabilize? The backlash? The court case? The blowback from Kody's deceptions? Christine rose once more. The kicker is on page 4, Your Honor, yellow highlighted. He turned to it and his eyes slitted. Projected backlash from Christine/Janelle exits will require narrative control. Recommend: use apology media blitz before reallocating assets into Aurora, Solomon, and Ariella's trusts. That wasn't financial juggling. That was using kids' names to avoid accountability. Even Robyn's own children, ones she had claimed to shield, had become pawns. This is unethical on steroids, the judge whispered. This is tantamount to felony-level financial manipulation. Kody attempted to cut in. Those were for their futures. I never spent a penny. But the judge cut in sharply. You produced apology videos as emotional shields while redirecting funds in their names. That isn't love. That's money laundering. The courtroom gasped. That word, laundering, altered everything. Robyn was sobbing hysterically. We didn't want to hurt anyone. We just needed a plan, she begged. Christine gave her a frosty stare. Your plan was easy. Lie, cry, collect, repeat. On the other side of the room, Janelle gritted her teeth. Her children, too, had been used. You used my son's medical crisis to elicit sympathy, she said abruptly, standing up. You cried on tape the night before Isabel's surgery was aired, just to sell hoodies on the Brown family website. The gallery exploded. The betrayal was not only economic, it was also emotional. It was spiritual. The viewers from all over the world had donated, purchased merchandise, rallied around the family, and all the time Kody and Robyn had scripted it out like a boardroom presentation. The judge himself appeared visibly unwell. I will be requesting a complete forensic audit of all family trusts and businesses associated with this show. Cameras snapped, court officials edged closer to the bench. Lawyers for TLC started writing emergency statements. And then the judge spoke the words no one thought he would ever say. If these allegations prove out under federal scrutiny, this whole business, show, brand, LLCs, will amount to a scheme to defraud. I am directing an injunction on all Coyote Pass transactions as of today. Kody's head fell. Robyn buried her face. The empire was frozen. What had started out as a court case regarding divorce and lying had now initiated a potential criminal investigation for fraud, money laundering, and exploitation of children. And it all had begun because of one thing: fabricated apologies. The deafening silence in the courtroom after the judge's words was palpable. Robyn's stifled crying was the only noise as officers led TLC's corporate attorneys out of the room for interrogation. Kody sat hunched over forward, staring at the gleaming wooden table, as though wishing to sink into its wood grain. This was more than a loss. It was the destruction of his carefully built reputation, his empire, and his legacy. The judge cleared his throat. This court finds good cause to issue a temporary cease and desist on all Brown family commercial activity relating to family trusts, merchandise, or branded content pending further investigation. The courtroom went wild. Reporters ran out to spread the word. Fans who had once written encouraging letters now gazed in shocked disbelief. The The show they'd been watching for years, so full of tears, hugs, and dramatic couch confessions, was now a matter of federal investigation. But there was more. The judge leaned forward, eyes glinting hard at Kody. "Mr. Brown, this court is making a formal referral to the state attorney's office. Your apology campaign, if substantiated to be a sham for financial cover-up, could be wire fraud and conspiracy to commit trust abuse. You might be charged with a crime." Robyn emitted a shrill wail, her hands clutched over her face. Christine stood tall. Tears pricked her eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of closure. She had battled years, for truth, for dignity, for the children, and now, at last, the deceptions were collapsing under oath. "It was never about revenge," Christine said. "It was about revealing the pattern. Every apology, every 'I miss my family' speech was a tactic, not sincerity. And now the world sees it." Janelle stood alongside her. "We don't want our money back. We want justice, for our children, for the fans, for the truth." The judge nodded gravely. "This court will reconvene in 30 days for the criminal proceedings. Until then, all Brown family financials will be frozen, including those involving Coyote Pass." Gasps erupted like fire. Kody suddenly stood up, fists clenched. "Go ahead and take my land. That's mine. I worked at that future for them." The judge slammed the gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Brown, or you'll be held in contempt." Kody slumped back in his chair, eyes hard and cold with anger and incredulity. The courtroom started to clear out. Camera crews lingered outside like vultures. But within, something larger had shattered than Kody's hold on the story. The facade of love, honesty, and togetherness he concealed behind had at last crumbled. Christine, Janelle, and Meri departed side by side, not one word spoken among them. They didn't need to. The jury had spoken for them. Their silence was strength. And as the heavy doors swung shut behind them, a new chapter had opened, not only in the legal system, but in the hearts of all who had ever thought Kody Brown's apologies were anything more than a myth. Until now, that is, because now they knew the truth. Those apologies weren't real. To be honest, they never were. They were bait for something larger. And with one court leak, the entire empire collapsed.